Alright, I am Tahuti Kepara Iteru. Now this video right here, I wanted to deal with this flat earth theory right here. Now, I've never really dealt with it properly. I took a few, shots here and there, made a few points here and there, but I've never really dealt with it properly. And I feel like my subscribers really deserve for me to sit down with this and really look at this from, from an analytical perspective and really deal with this flat earth theory and test the validity of this theory right here. So that's what I want to do in this video right here. Right. So now, to set the premise for this now, I've seen a lot of flat earth videos, right? I've seen a lot of flat earth videos, and what a lot of flat earthers tend to do though, when it comes to their arguments with the flat earth now, they tend to use their perspective and say what they can see, and the horizon is flat and all of these different things. That's what they tend to do. Well, we're not going to do that here. You see what I'm saying? We're not going to do that here. So again, because if you want to take this to NASA and really take this to these mainstream scientists now, we got to deal with credible science right here, right? So now, we're not going to do that here. So again, what we're going to do in this video though, we're going to deal with science, straight science right here. That's what we're going to deal with, right? So now, the round earth theory, or the main theory that the round earth model depends on is gravity. That's its main theory. That's what it depends on. So if you disprove gravity, then the whole round earth model doesn't even work anymore. It doesn't work. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't work. So let's deal with gravity right here. Let's deal with gravity. Now, they say that all objects of mass have gravity, right? So objects of mass on Earth should also have gravity, right? Now, we know the most massive structures on the planet, right, are the pyramids of Giza, but not the pyramids of Giza, but there's pyramids all around the world, and the pyramids of the sun and moon and things of that nature. So the pyramids are some of the most massive structures on the planet right here, or in this, in this place right here. So now, according to gravity now, the pyramid should also have gravity, but yet we don't see things orbiting the pyramids. You see what I'm saying? Objects of smaller mass don't orbit the pyramids. You see what I'm saying? But if you come with the equation of gravity now, that should also include the pyramids, but yet we don't see that happening, right? We don't see it happening. Now, another interesting aspect here is this. Now, I spoke about this before, right? In another one of my videos I spoke about this. Now, they did an experiment now with a bowling ball and a feather, right, in a vacuum. So the bowling ball and the feather in the vacuum were both dropped at the same time, right? And they both hit the ground at the same time. And they said the reason for them to hit the ground at the same time is due to gravity. So they're saying that gravity is the reason why they both hit the ground at the same time, right? But see, what's interesting here is this. Now, a helium balloon in regular conditions floats upwards. But I was doing research now, and what I found was that when you put a helium balloon in a vacuum, it actually goes down. It falls downwards, right? It actually goes down, you see. But see, what I noticed now, and I put the video in the description for you to watch it as well. What I noticed was that in the experiment now, the helium balloon dropped at the same rate as it did when it was rising. So when it rises in normal atmosphere, then when you put it in the vacuum now, it drops at this almost as it's the same rate or even slower. So I thought to myself, what would happen if you put a helium balloon and a bowling ball in a vacuum, right? And I thought that would be an interesting experiment. So I'm looking over YouTube now, I'm Googling it now, and it just so happens that it's never been done. Now you would think that would be an interesting experiment to do, but yet it's never been done. So I thought to myself, it's never been done. So based on the experiment of the bowling ball and the feather, I thought to myself that the reason why it's never been done, because what may happen is that the bowling ball would actually hit the ground first. So if you drop a helium balloon and a bowling ball in a vacuum, the bowling ball would hit the ground first. You see what I'm saying? Because again, the rate at which it dropped now, I know if they put a bowling ball in that same chamber, it's dropping like a sack of bricks, that bowling ball. So the rate at which it dropped now gave an idea into my mind that it wouldn't fall at the same rate. But see, that's what you would expect to happen according to gravity. That's what you would expect to happen. You see what I'm saying? The bowling ball is heavier, therefore there's more gravitational force acting upon the bowling ball, so the bowling ball should fall down faster than the helium balloon. But that wouldn't be the case. You see what I'm saying? So how is it that on one hand, when two objects of two different densities or two different masses, right, or weights essentially, hit the ground at the same time, it's gravity, but then we have two different objects of two different weights and densities hitting the ground at different times, and it's also gravity? So again, that's garbage, right? So again, that alone disproves gravity. That's why they've never done it. Ask NASA to do an experiment, helium balloon and bowling ball in a vacuum. But again, I bet when they try to do it now, I bet when they do it, they're gonna get a dark color balloon. It's not just gonna be helium in that balloon. They're gonna put some water in there. They're gonna put all kinds of stuff in there to make it that more denser, to make it, you know, saying fall at the same rate of the balloon, but I get a same rate as the bowling ball. But I guarantee, if it's pure helium in that balloon, it's hitting the ground after the bowling ball, and that debunks gravity right now. That debunks it. You see what I'm saying? So there is no gravity. There is no gravity, right? Now let me see what's in. Okay, we'll leave that out. Let's go straight to the next part right here. We'll leave that out. So now with gravity out of the picture now, this part's key. What is causing the sun to transverse the sky without gravity? Now this part's deep. A lot of flat earthers now, they don't really address this. So that's what I want to do in this video. I want to address the stuff that's going unaddressed right here. So the only forces in the universe now, electricity, magnetism, electromagnetism, and nuclear force. That's the only forces we know of. Gravity is not one of those forces. It's not a force. That's garbage. They made it up. You know what I'm saying? They made it up. So these are the only forces that we know of. So what exactly is causing the sun to transverse the sky? The same force that causes electrons to bond to other electrons, which is electromagnetism. That's the force. That's the force, right? But see, electromagnetism is not the same as just regular magnetism, right? An electromagnetic force is damn near unbreakable. You see what I'm saying? It can only be broken under extreme heat conditions or another electromagnetic force. You see what I'm saying? Now, one of the strongest bonds in physics or chemistry is the carbon bond. You see what I'm saying? But carbon is saying that it's mostly found bonded to hydrogen, hence the term hydrocarbons. You see what I'm saying? They're saying it's a very difficult bond to break. But also what's interesting is that we know the Egyptians now, they were dealing with alchemy. They were embalming the bodies, but the body is made of carbon and also hydrogen and also different elements like oxygen and things of that nature. So in so many words, the Egyptians were able to break this bond. They had this high physics, high quantum physics to be able to break this carbon bond that the modern physicists now are saying is damn near unbreakable. You see what I'm saying? So it shows you the level of knowledge that they had. You see what I'm saying? I just want to throw that in there right now. But now I want to get into this. So now, so going back to the sun now, if it's the force of electromagnetism that's causing the sun to transverse, because we know the earth has its own magnetic field too. So if it's the force of electromagnetism that's causing the sun to transverse the sky, then the sun would have to be in our atmosphere. That's the secret. The sun would have to be in our atmosphere. And again, a lot of flat earthers now are speaking about this. But then the question comes, how can the sun be in our atmosphere and not burn us up? You see what I'm saying? This is why they're telling you the sun's a million miles away, so many million miles away. They know it's not that far away. But for them to tell you it's in our atmosphere, then they have to tell you how it's even possible for that sun to be in our atmosphere and not burn us up. So what's going on here? And it's deep. This part's deep. This is very, but this part's deep. Again, we're doing some very theoretical stuff right here. Well, it's not theory. It's real science right here, but again, it's deep shit right here. So now, the whole thing with the sun here is this. The sun is not actually a star as you've been told. It's not actually a star. It's almost like a reflection now, or a projected image of some sort. You see what I'm saying? So it's not, in so many words, it's not the cause of its heat and radiation. So the cause of the heat and radiation from the sun is coming from another source. It's not the source of its own heat. So because that sun up there is not the source of the heat, that it doesn't matter where that sun is. It doesn't matter if that sun's 2 miles away. Well, it doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter if it's a few thousand miles away or millions of miles away. That doesn't matter because it's not the sun. It's not the cause of the heat and radiation. You see what I'm saying? So now, what is it? Now this goes back to Egypt now. This goes back to Egypt now, dealing with the sun god Ra and Atenra. Now let me show you how this works. So now, again, now we spoke about this before. Here we have Ra. Again, I spoke about this in the video, holographic spirit. Now that video is deep. That you gotta go back to that video. You gotta go back to that one. So again, we have Ra. Right. And then we spoke about this before. So how it works is this. So now, Ra. Let me show you this. So again, we spoke about this before, right? So there's Ra. And then down here now will be a Tendra, the sun in the horizon, the sun disk. You see what I'm saying? And then you have all this in between. We spoke about this before. So now how it works here is this. Ra is in another dimension, right? But it's linked to the body in our atmosphere. It's linked. So this Ra is in another dimension and it's linked to this sun in our sky. So this is, so again, we're going to go into this. And how it works is something in quantum physics they call entanglement. They call it entanglement, right? Again, they call it entanglement. And in quantum physics, they deal with quantum potential, where the electron can exist in the absence of observers, but the electron is what causes bonds now with other electrons to form the matter that you know of this in this world. So the electron existing in the absence of observers now gives hints now to other worlds now. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Other worlds now. But we also know, let me see, the electron is also able to communicate with each other. They can also communicate with each other. So it doesn't matter where they are in the universe, they can communicate with each other. And also when they observe electrons in plasma now, it's almost as if now they start, so they don't operate individually, they operate as one. So there's thousands of electrons now, millions of electrons now, they're operating as one. You see what I'm saying? So each individual electron is essentially entangled now. They're ever connected. Doesn't matter where they are in the universe. That's how it works. And that's how it's been since the beginning of the universe, right? So how it works here is this, and again I spoke about this before. So there's Ra, but he's in another dimension. And this right here will be the wave packets, the photons, the photon particles. And as we mentioned in the video holographic spirit now, the photon now is when the electron and its antimatter particle, the positron, annihilate each other now. And they decay now. And in that radioactive decay, it produces the photon. So the photon is the electron, in so many words. So these are photons, electrons really. You see what I'm saying? So, and again, as you spoke about before now, you have the God Ra. The God Ra. But this is the God Ra, the ancient hieroglyph thousands of years ago. And then this right here is modern string theory. Let me say this the right way. So this right here is modern string theory. So this is Ra. Take a closer look at that. And this is modern string theory. So again, that's what it was. That's what Ra represents, string theory. And when you deal with string theory now, they're talking about, there was a vibratory strings in the beginning of time, and these vibratory strings now, energetic strings, gave rise to the particles and forces of this reality. So that's what Ra is. So what's happening here is this. So how this theory works is that Ra is in another universe, and it would emit waves and frequencies while at the same time will be picked up by the sun in our universe, because it doesn't matter where the electron is in the universe, do something to this electron over here and it automatically happens to this electron in this universe. Doesn't matter where they are, they're ever connected. So this Ra over here now is emitting waves and particles now, and then this sun over here is picking up those waves and frequencies. But then what happens is now it re-emits those frequencies. It re-emits an interpretation of those frequencies now, and its corresponding interpretation of those waves and frequencies from Ra is the electromagnetic spectrum, and that is deep. That's the key to the sun. You see what I'm saying? So the sun is not actually a star, but it's a type of receiver, converter, or even a transformer. That's what it is basically. Some type of converter right here. And that is deep. You see what I'm saying? That's why they can't tell you that it's in our atmosphere. Because if they tell you it's in our atmosphere, then they have to explain how it's not burning us up. Then they will have to go through all of that, which I have just explained. And if they go through all of that, then it will explain other worlds, other realities, and they don't want to do it. That's the key. They don't want to do it. So that's the sun. So now I want to deal with the moon right here. So now this brings me to the moon. So now, I spoke about in another video, in my other video on this channel, dealing with the Earth and the moon, and I said I want to find out what this moon is. I want to find out what that thing is, and now I found out, and it's deep, right? It's deep. So again, now the flat earthers now, they say that the moon. No. The whole theory of the moon is that the moon reflects the light of the sun. That's what it does. That's what they say. It reflects the light of the sun, right? And it's reflecting the sun's rays, but the flat earth is saying that now, basically this moon, it's luminous even when the sun's not around. So again, basically what they're saying is the moon is self-luminous. That's what they're saying, it's self-luminous. And there's other theories that say that the moon is a hologram, it's created from a piece of earth. So I'm thinking to myself, I was doing all this research thinking, what the hell is the moon? And I was pondering, what is this thing right here? So now, what if the moon, so my theory is this, what if the moon is receiving the sun's light? What if it is receiving the sun's light? As again, we spoke about in my video, the holographic spirit now. light is the electromagnetic spectrum. Right? The whole spectrum is light. You see what I'm saying? But part of that light you can't see. But the part of the light you can see, they call it visible light. But the whole spectrum is like UV, infrared, X-rays, all forms of light. But the part of it you can see, let's call it visible light. You see what I'm saying? Because according to the flat Earth model, the sun never sets. The Earth and Moon, the sun never sets. So it's constantly transversing. They're constantly transversing. You see what I'm saying? Constantly transversing. But again, this UV light now, this extra, the other part of the electromagnetic spectrum now, you can't actually see it. You see, you can't actually see it. And so they're saying the sun and the moon is always parallel, it's constantly transversing. So what I'm saying is that, what if the sun or the moon is receiving the sun's light, but it doesn't reflect it, but it actually absorbs it, then re-emits it, or essentially reacting to the light. Hence why the light is cold, because it's not a mere reflection, but what it's doing is re-emitting its own light based on the sun's light that it transmits right here. So what I'm saying is that my theory here is this. Now this part, again, we got to do more research into this, but my theory is this. The moon now is essentially a new form of matter that they haven't told us about. A new form of matter that they're keeping for themselves. A type of matter that glows in the dark. That's what the moon does. The moon is seen in the daytime and the nighttime. You see what I'm saying? But in the nighttime now, it looks different than it is in the daytime. In the nighttime, it has a type of glow, but in the daytime, it has a type of holographic type of look. But really, what I'm saying is that, what if it's a new form of matter they haven't told us about? A new form of matter that glows in the dark, some type of luminous matter. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. That's my theory right there. So some type of luminous matter. You see what I'm saying? And also based on this now, the moon is actually causing its own phases. And it causes its own phases now based on this type of new form of matter that they're not telling us about. You see what I'm saying? That's my theory. That's why the moon phases can seem so irregular sometimes. Because it's causing its own phases. I don't really know why it's a semicircle. I'll be honest with you, I don't really know why that is. Why it's a semicircle, why it's a semicircle. But again, what I do know, it's causing its own phases. My theory is that it's a new form of matter they're not telling us about. Now this leads into this another theory right here. Because we know now, because again, when you look at the moon now, it's white. It's white, looks a bit kind of icy, whatever. It looks that's what it looks like. The type of white, type of icy material. So what if the theory here is this? Because a lot of flat earthers talk about this Antarctica, this Antarctic Treaty, and this and that. We're gonna go further into this, but that's what they talk about. So what if the whole Antarctic Treaty is for science? And what it is that maybe this new form of matter that the moon is made of is in Antarctica, and that's what they keep for themselves. The new form of matter. They're trying to hide this new form of matter, because again, we know there's new forms of matter. And I got this new stuff now. They're talking about these time crystals. I don't go too deep into here, but they're talking about time crystals now. These new forms of matter. So they come up with new forms of matter now that they're not telling you about. You know what I'm saying? They just, in school, they just give you the solids, liquids, and gases. They're not telling you about the plasmas. They're not telling you about the Bose-Einstein condensates. They're not telling you about the liquid crystals. They're not telling you about these things. And now this new form of matter now, dealing with the moon, they're not telling you about these things right here. And that's the key to it. You see what I'm saying? So that's one of my theories right there. All right. So that's the next clip what we're going to go into now. Okay, so now with all that now I want to deal with the whole concept of this earth and this flat earth. Let's deal with this. Okay. So like I told you, it's going to be an in-depth video right here. We're dealing with deep science right here. You know what I'm saying? We're dealing with some stuff right here. So again, as mentioned earlier now, without gravity, Earth cannot be a ball. Because how does the water stay on the Earth without gravity? So once you take out gravity, there is no more round Earth. We ain't going to deal with the horizon. We ain't going to deal with the... Take out gravity and there is no more round Earth. It's gone. Right? So what do we have here? So my theory is this. So without gravity, it cannot be a ball. So the only explanation is now... My definition is this. It's a single surface plane with mountains, seas, and no tangible curvature. So repeat after me. It's a single surface plane, right, with mountains and seas, right, with no tangible curvature. That's the definition. Flat Earth is not a definition. That's when you can be ridiculed. That's when you can be, you know what I'm saying, that's when we can make fun of you. But if you do a proper definition now, a single surface plane with mountains and seas with no tangible curvature. That's a great definition right there. That's what should be used. A proper definition. Now you can't be ridiculed now. You see what I'm saying? That's what you're dealing with now. Now, so again, that's the definition. I want that to, I want it to, you know what I'm saying, resonate with people right there. That's the definition right here. So now, going back to this. Now, some flat earthers will say the Earth is an infinite plane, and it just keeps on going, keeps on going. But see, from a occult standpoint, you can't actually say that. You see what I'm saying? This is a realm of a limit. This is a realm of the finite, not the infinite. That's what this physical world is. It's the realm of the finite. It's the realm of a limit. Hence why it's a physical world. You see what I'm saying? It's the opposite of infinite, so it can't be an infinite plane. There has to be a limit. There has to be a limit to it. So now other flat earthers will say, talk about the ice war. Now I want to deal with this ice war right here. So now, the reason why this came about was because in the globe model, Antarctica, they say, is at the bottom. But because there is no globe model, they then said, okay, it's not at the bottom, it's the whole outer ring, right? It's the whole outer ring. It's the ice wall. Well, why can't Antarctica just be its own place? Why does it have to be the whole outer ring? And again, they said that because they knew the theory had holes in it. Because if the theory is flat, how does the water stay on it? So, ice wall, you see what I'm saying? That's what they said. But again, it's that's still theoretical. It's not really science though, because I mean, it hasn't been proven. Ice wall hasn't necessarily been proven and things of that nature. Hasn't necessarily been proven. You see what I'm saying? That's just something they said because based on it being at the bottom. You see what I'm saying? It hasn't necessarily been proven and things of that nature. But anyway, so again, dealing with the ice wall now. Another thing they say about the ice wall, they say there's more land behind the ice wall. And they say there's military patrols around the ice wall now to stop the unauthorized people from entering this ice wall and things of that nature. Hence, they call it the Antarctic Treaty. But I want to deal with this more land behind the ice wall. I want to deal with it. So now they say there's more land behind the ice wall and they garden it, right? So essentially, if there is more land behind the ice wall, they essentially have uncharted territory all to themselves. But if they have uncharted territory all to themselves now, why are they building domes now, deep underground military bases? Why does he want to go to Mars? Why are they essentially talking about an overpopulated planet? So essentially what I'm saying is, why are they fighting for land over here when they got more land over there? If they got more land over there that's uncharted, it's for them to have, and they got military patrols, why are they fighting for land over here? You see what I'm saying? So why are they fighting for it? Right? So again now, that's my whole theory right there. So if there's more land over there, why are they fighting for land over here? You see what I'm saying? And if you're dealing with the ice wall now, so my theory, there is no more land over there. That's my theory. Because why it doesn't explain why they're fighting for land over here, going to war over here, or the oil and stuff over here when there's more reasons, technically, potentially, more resources over there. So why they? So again, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Now dealing with the ice wall now, if there is an ice wall, but we know the sun is melting polar ice caps. So what would cause such an ice ring or ice wall? So if the sun is melting polar ice caps, then we can assume that based on there's an ice ring or ice wall, the rays of the sun don't actually reach that part of the earth for there to be an ice ring or ice wall. You see what I'm saying? So it's not reaching that part to melt it. So there's an ice ring, right? So if there's an ice ring and there's an ice wall, that means the land beyond the ice wall, right, is not subject to the same level of radiation as the land that we're on now. You see what I'm saying? It's not subject to the same form of radiation. So if that is so, why are they investing in geoengineering to block out the sun and cool down the earth when they have radiation-free land over there? So that is just, that's garbage. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the flat earther, but that's garbage. You see what I'm saying? More land behind the ice walls, that's garbage. And the ice wall, hasn't necessarily been proven, so I don't know about that. But them being more land behind the ice wall, that's garbage. Right? Now the next thing I want to deal with now. The next thing I want to deal with now is the dome right here. Now, the dome concept is more biblical than scientific. You see what I'm saying? It's more biblical than scientific. As what would the dome be made out of? What material is the dome made out of? Right? What scientifically caused there to be a dome? You see what I'm saying? And if there was a dome, now this is another thing. Because again now, they know this truth themselves. And NASA know that. They know this truth. So if there was a dome, why are they shooting rockets upwards? You see what I'm saying? If they know they're going to hit a dome. You see what I'm saying? Why are they shooting rockets upwards? And why aren't these rockets now built to pierce a dome? Why are they not built like this? So again, you know, and again, if there is a dome now, why are they even shooting rockets up? Why not just take the planes with these large drills, take them to the edge of the earth and just drill through the dome? So again, it's more biblical than scientific. So again, based on this research, based on knowledge, there really is no dome here. There is no dome. You see what I'm saying? There is no dome here. So my final analysis really, based on all this information, here is this. Why did they even say it was round in the first place? right? They could have said anything. Why did they say it was round? And the reason I believe they said it, the reason why I believe they said it was round is because what would happen is that, and I spoke about this before in another video, what would happen is that when they would go so far over there now, they would transverse the seas and they would go so far over there, and then somehow they would end up back over here. They could see there was no curvature, but they somehow would end up back over here. You see what I'm saying? So what was happening is that it seemed as if there was a curvature, but there really was no curvature at all. You see what I'm saying? So my theory is based on this holographic universe theory. That's what I deal with, this holographic universe, right? The holographic universe model, in the sense that your brain is creating the physical reality. Your brain is creating the physical world, and what's happening is that your brain is warping the reality around you. It's warping it. It's warping the reality around you to give the illusion that it's round. You see what I'm saying? So you go so far over here, you just end up back over here, and it's warping it around you. You see what I'm saying? So the conclusion from a quantum physics standpoint now, there really is no physical Earth. There is no Earth. You see what I'm saying? It's simply a realm or plane that the brain is creating, the brain is projecting. You see what I'm saying? So on the one hand, the surface is level with your eyes, but somehow the brain warps the reality around you, and you're back where you started. So it's a series of illusions that doesn't exist. You see what I'm saying? So again, there is no Earth, and that's the key to it. Right? That's the key to it. So again now I want to deal with this concept of space right here. Now, it's not possible to travel through space from a conventional method right here, from a conventional sense, as we exist in a third dimension, but the third dimension is a product of space and time. So we're not in space, we are the product of space. You see what I'm saying? Situated within this space matrix right here. So space and time are two different dimensions, and the only way to travel through them now is interdimensional. You see what I'm saying? Not physically. So now, the whole key to the universe now, this is the universe. The Earth is the universe. This is the center of the universe right here. We are in the universe. This is it. Right? And from a standpoint of string theory now, the universe, when the universe was created, multiple dimensions were also created. You see what I'm saying? So a realm of 10 dimensions, 9 space, 1 of time. Right? But we exist on the third dimension. So the question is not what shape is the Earth, what size or shape is the Earth. You must first understand is that there is no Earth. This is not an Earth. You see what I'm saying? But a realm within space and time, a realm within space-time. That's what this is. You see what I'm saying? So the concept of this being flat and there being a dome and there being edges is you taking the concept of this being a ball in space, right, that was already a fallacy, already fake, that they made up, and then trying to put your own spin on it now. You see what I'm saying? It's to suit your beliefs. Because the concept of, again, that's false belief, the concept of this being floating a ball floating in space. You see what I'm saying? So if that is incorrect now, and this place is not moving around the sun, but the stars and the heavens move around us now, then that whole concept has to be thrown in the garbage. The whole original concept they gave you has to be thrown in the garbage. You see what I'm saying? So again, this is not an Earth, right? So it's not an Earth with a dome and physical restrictions, but it's a dimension. That's what we are. It's a dimension being projected by your brain right here. So the limitations of this place is as far as your brain can project itself. You see what I'm saying? That's the limitations as far as your brain can project. And then what will happen is that the reality will begin to warp itself now. And then it will appear as if the ball is in motion, but really you're stationary. But because it's a projector from the brain now, the reality begins to warp itself. And that's and you know what I'm saying? That's deep right there. That's the quantum mechanics of this shit. You see what I'm saying? The reality begins to warp itself. So the ancients understood that this was not actually a planet, it was a realm. Even Nikola Tesla, you see what I'm saying? If you want to deal with Tesla, even Tesla said, this is a realm. This is not a planet, it's a realm. So the flat earth conspiracy, right, is not to try to hide God. As most flat earthers say, that's not what it's about. It's to try to hide the reality of higher dimensions. But not just higher dimensions, and this being the lowest dimension. That's what they're trying to hide. This is the lowest. You see what I'm saying? But from a quantum mechanics standpoint, you exist on all dimensions at the same time. And that's what they're trying to hide. This being the lowest dimension, and not that you have to travel to those dimensions, you exist on those dimensions all at the same time. But you're not able to perceive those dimensions because the third dimension only allows you, the brain only allows you to perceive the third dimension. But if you were to lose the brain, then those other dimensions will become real. They will become the reality. But losing the brain now, that is death. You see what I'm saying? But really, so that's death now, dealing with life after death. But the whole real situation is that this is the death illusion that doesn't exist. You see what I'm saying? A place that is frozen in space and time, stuck in the cycle of 1 to 12, frozen in space time. You see what I'm saying? When you awaken from this third dimension, awaken from this third density now, that's when the true life begins. And that's what the whole Egypt was talking about with the ankhs and all that. That's what they were talking about. You see, this is the death, right? So now that with that now, so again that closes it up, and again it's deep. That's why a lot of flat earthers, they don't deal with it, because it's deep when you really go into it. It deals with quantum mechanics, quantum physics. It's not just a flat earth. That's just basic. It's not. That's the basic. When you go really deep into it, it's quantum mechanics and quantum physics, and that is deep. You see what I'm saying? So now to close out, now I want to just deal with the last few points right here. So now I want to deal with this Einstein's theory. I want to deal with Einstein, and I want to deal with this Einstein theory of relativity, and why they say he's a genius. Now the whole thing with relativity now, it's actually separate from quantum mechanics. And what they've been trying to do now, physicists for years now, they're trying to merge the two. General relativity and quantum mechanics, they're trying to merge the two. You see what I'm saying? But see, the whole thing with general relativity, we're going to deal with this. And why they even say it's a genius. So the whole general relativity now, basically what it's saying is gravity is bending space-time, and planets don't simply warp around it. They follow the bend that gravity has created in space-time. This is what they're saying, right? This is what they're saying. But now I want to say why they say he's a genius. Now the whole thing with Einstein is that he is a genius. He is a genius, right? But not what you think it is, right? Not how you think it is, or not what you think it is. And the reason why they praise him so much is because what he was able to do, he was able to lay down a formula that they can use in their fantasy universe. You know what I'm saying? They can use that in their fantasy universe. So he said that, again, dealing with what I said before about gravity, it bends space-time. So Einstein was able to take a fantasy science fiction and make it appear real. He was able to take the impossible and make it seem possible. This is what he's able to do, and that is genius. This is what he did. That is genius. So again, the whole thing with space, it's garbage. It's all fake. It's all garbage. There is no space. There is no physical planets. How are we going to deal with this? So again, he was able to make mankind think space travel and all this stuff is possible and it's conceivable, and that is genius. That's just, so he's a genius. You see what I'm saying? But not from a conventional sense of as the term genius you would think, but a genius to take something that is impossible, something that is fiction, and seem real. That's what he did. So again, I want to deal with this now. I want to deal with the root of this. So now to close out now, I want to deal with the root of this right here. The ultimate goal for all of this, because people ask, why would they lie? Why did they lie? Why would they lie and say it was wrong? I want to explain this. The ultimate goal and the reason why they did this is all based on magic and mind control. Because most people don't understand magic and mind control, they don't understand why they're even doing it. They know it's not right. They know it's all garbage. But why are they talking about it? You got Neil deGrasse Tyson, you got all these people, you know what I'm saying, constantly playing on this whole round the earth around. Why are they doing this? Are we going to explain it? He deals with magic and he deals with mind control. So now, if you believe that there are planets, right? And if you believe there are exoplanets, you can make it real. This is the mind. You can actually make it real. So if they told you that it was round, so they told you it was round to fit the deception, for a grander deception of more planets and more life. This is what they did. So if they told you that we are the third planet away from the sun and there's a solar system, we're revolving around the sun, all they then have to tell you, and we know there's many different stars out there, and if they tell you that we are the third planet away from the sun and we're revolving around the sun, all they have to tell you is now we found another star, and now a potentially more solar system, there's more life. This is what they're trying to do right here. And if they tell you we are the third planet away from the sun, and this is the habitat zone, the habitual zone or whatever, and they tell you we found another solar system similar to our own and the third planet away from the sun, and it all ties in and it makes it more believable. But all that's garbage. There is no solar system. There is no third planet away from the sun. All of that's garbage. It's deep, high magic and mind control what they're using. Telling me it's the third planet away from the sun, and they find another system with another third planet away from the sun. Now it's more believable. So again, that is the deep aspect to it. It's all mind control. You see what I'm saying? And now I want to quickly deal with last few things right here now. So one thing I want to deal with is this speed of light thing. Now, when I first came across this whole speed of light, I asked myself, how did they measure the speed of light? How did they really measure this? And when you research it, they don't know the speed of light. They made it up. They made it up, right? They made it up. It's garbage. But we know that even from a quantum mechanics standpoint, light has a wave-particle duality. It's a wave and it's a particle. So even if they were measuring the speed of light, they would only measuring the speed of the particle, not the speed of the wave. But it's a wave and it's a particle. But just by virtue of them measuring it, it becomes a particle. So they can't even measure the wave. They can't measure it when it's a wave, because as soon as they measure the wave, it becomes a particle. So the only thing they're really measuring, if they were to really measure it, would be measuring the speed at which their brain is able to interpret and receive the light. Because you need light to see. So how can you measure the speed of light? So it's just masturbation, science fiction, intellectual masturbation. It's garbage. They made it up. You see what I'm saying? They made it up, and they keep propagating this bullshit speed of light, when they ain't even done no speed of light. That you can't measure the speed of light. That's garbage. You know what I'm saying? That is garbage. You cannot measure the speed of light. So that's bullshit. So again, this whole, and that, again, that whole speed of light ties into general relativity, which is, again, they made it up. That's why you can't get into a lot of the physics that they deal with, because it's actually all garbage. The only real physics really is quantum mechanics, quantum physics. That's the only real physics, and also basic physics dealing with, you know, other stuff dealing with the world and stuff like that. But the other stuff, you know, the general relativity and gravity, that's all bullshit that they made up. That's why you can't get into it, and it don't make sense because they made it up. They made it up. That's the key. They made it up, right? They even tell you thought experiments. They even tell you they're making it up. They're making it up. So again, now, the last thing I want to deal with now is these whole exoplanets and all that. So now, there are no physical planets, right? Now, how they come up with exoplanets is that, I saw this video now. What they showed is that how they come up with exoplanets is, what they're doing is they're taking data, right? They're taking data, and then based on the data, they're forming. So they're making their drawings, but their drawings based on the data. You see what I'm saying? So they're really stars, but they're really drawings based on data. That's what they're doing. They're just concepts. They're concept art. It's concept art. They even tell you it's just art. It's not real stuff. But another deep aspect was this. I'm gonna show you something. Before again, let's just close out right here. Now I want to show you something. And I want to show you, for example, take a look at this right here. So now this right here, they call it the nebula, right? The nebula, different nebula. But then now, when you read it, they tell you right here is that this is actually, let me see if we can find it now. It's actually a mosaic. They tell you it's a mosaic. Now, what is a mosaic? So a mosaic now is where you take different images from different places and try and arrange it into an actual image. So the mosaic of Barack Obama is not actually a picture of Barack Obama, but it's a pictures of various different images that you placed together so in such a way that it looks like Barack Obama. So that's what this is. It's all fake. It's all garbage. You see what I'm saying? It's all garbage, right? Let me see another thing now. Let me see. Another thing I want to deal with again. Just to close out. We're just closing out right here. Let's see, what was that one? Just closing out right here. Again, another thing, that's another thing. They're editing the images. That's another thing. They're actually editing this stuff. You see what I'm saying? It's being edited, right? So I want to show you this. See what that's? See, I don't know if you can see that right there. Again, they're showing them how to edit it. They're showing them how to edit. So again, they're taking the pictures of stars and planets and they're refining them and they're editing them. So they're not even real pictures. Even these amateur stuff, they're editing them. You see what I'm saying? Let me see what else. The last page. Let me see. Again, they're editing out here. Again, they're showing you the edit. They're showing you how to edit. This is it, and this is the whole astronomy. They're editing them. You can see that, but I can't see what I'm seeing. But anyway, they're editing them. So this is how it looks now after they edited it, right? And then this is how it looked before. So again, they're editing the stuff. So it's all magic. It's all mind show. It's all fake. It's all garbage. So again, the whole key to this, it's all garbage. There is no space. There is no space travel. There is no planets. It's all garbage out here. So I guess it's all man-made. I just want to close out with that right there. You see what I'm saying? So again, this is really just part 2 right here. I just want to deal with this flat Earth. So again, I hope you took some good information from this. You see what I'm saying? Again, we dealt with this already. We dealt with some of this stuff now. I just wanted to deal with this flat Earth and give my take on it. So again, as mentioned, the definition is that it's not actually a flat Earth, but it's a single surface plane with mountains and seas and no tangible curvature. Now that's the key. So again, just a quick video. Again, went deep in this video, went deep, but you know what I'm saying, I hope you be able to follow the stuff I was talking about. So again, you know what I'm saying, just a quick video right here. So again, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you did some good information. Alright, people, thanks for watching.